really fun to talk about, is going to the historical evidences. So someone wanted me to give them all these links to this and this. You just can't in the comment section on YouTube, and I just turn the notifications off. And if you're just really mean to me, I'm just gonna stop. Like, it's just, if you're constantly gonna have a put down, asking a question is fine, but criticizing me, like, I'm just gonna ask you to stop and I'm gonna step out of it. Try to. And I will stand back and deal with a lot before I do anything drastic, if someone's really bothering me. But I really am fascinated with when you look at the styles. So you scroll down a little ways and then you can see, okay, so who's Lucian Foster? We believe that it's pretty much a consensus. They don't know, they don't think Cannon took it. There's no other photographer that is stated that would have taken this. This is a much clearer copy of Emma's picture. But you can see that this is angled down like that. And you can see the ovals. So if you look at her daguerreotype in our paper for free, you can scroll through it and see the comparison between this very clear carte de visite and the daguerreotype that just turned black. Because if you don't keep the glass on it and keep it closed, it'll oxidize and you just don't have much of an image left. And even though it looked so beautiful and it was so cool in the beginning, people started realizing over time these were going bad. So by the 1860s, it was very, very popular and very common in Corning Gowan Weaver, even so that him and the guy that owned this before me knew. I think he had a professional and he just knew a lot more than people criticizing him. Even though they had maybe better grammar, he had worse. They're just like, they all, you're only good and knowledgeable in what you study. So this guy had studied photos and he turned out to be correct in saying that this was a copy from a daguerreotype. He knew what a carte de visite was. I didn't know until I got it in the mail and researched it, right? So that's a testament for my family and everyone that's just like, what? But this is believed to Lucian Foster, and J.S. Bibbins' work I don't show on this page. I'm more just showing Lucian Foster's, and I show this copy. There's a very quote cleaned up version, but then this background looks flat and it's cropped. So the only version of this that I could find where I saw the whole daguerreotype, it's not very high DPI, but you can see either way. It's like you would need to squint to see the background and see it's not level, and there's a pleat right there. Okay, and then if we look at Emma's picture, there's a pleat. A little bit different, but it's just clearly it must be on the floor because this is going in like that. So this is probably a background that he's moving around. Maybe he brought it with him. I don't know. Maybe it was wallpaper that was just extra. I don't know what it was. It definitely looks like you see a lot. The most detail you see in Emma's picture. It really looks, you could almost pass this as foxing, but I think it's a textured background and it's short. And I think I can see that this is very likely textured, but I see some waves in this background. It doesn't look like it's very taut. And so if you go to my main page, then you can go through here and I just don't want those things open right here. So if you just go to my website, I show many, many examples of J.S. Bibbins' work, and then you can see the background is totally different and the lighting is 1860s. And so the knowledge of what good lighting is in a studio, and Corning Gowan Weaver, he was talking about how they would have sort of like a skylight in the ceiling, like they would, like today. I didn't realize they would do that, but they would do that. And they just had a lot of different techniques he was trying to explain to me. But that's what he called it. And so I do remember, and I emailed him back and tried to figure out, and I was trying to answer all of his questions, and it just I didn't get anywhere. And I don't think I could. I couldn't find any evidence where Lucian Foster's studio was, because Gowan Weaver's asked me a lot of questions about, like, where was the studio? Did you have a skylight? How was it set up? So we can understand what Lucian Foster's lighting, but still I believe that we have at least 3 Phoebe, Wilford, and Emma's picture that looks like it was by Lucy, but we think Lucian Foster took one of Brigham Young on the stairs. So sometimes he was just going where the people were too, right? In the temple. And so it's a very cool picture. It's not very clear at all. But this is J.S. Bibbins. This is the back of this picture. J.S. Bibbins, photographer. You see the sun stamp tax, and it even has the year 63, 65. It was 1866 when they stopped putting the in August 1866. Okay, so my picture's missing this, and the first mention of Emma going to Plano was August 1866. It's just not that it matters, but when she started, she had not gone to Plano yet. But if she had gone in August, J.S. Bibbins would have made this without the stamp. The irony of it is incredible. So we can look up Brigham Young daguerreotype in Temple, Lucian Foster. I don't know. I didn't put that on my website. I guess I could, but it's obviously not using a background. In the temple, it's, as I researched this picture, okay, see, and you see like this here, he's facing that way, that one he's facing that way. And that's why with the artwork, I was like, okay, who owns this? What orientation is? I was trying to figure out that one eyebrow, but then I found that other sketch that, anyway. But you see, it looks pretty scratched up, but there's a light coming from a window, so you got side lighting. So when I did photography for a short time, we were trained a lot about, okay, you turn on the settings of the lights, if you wanted a full, if it's an elderly person or someone over 30 or whatever, really only children would we do side lighting, because almost anyone, it's going to pull out blemishes and imperfections. But with my photo, it drew out all of these imperfections that one side of the face I can really see in the death mask. So that was very convincing to me. If it was all flat, like these pictures, this guy probably has a ton, she has a ton of wrinkles, but you don't see them that well because it's got good lighting. It's coming from both sides. This is a professional studio. Like, this is a flat background. It isn't draped. It isn't got pleats in it. And he's photographing almost the whole body, and then there he's also photographing the whole body. And there are some that are definitely up close, a lot of Civil War photos, but it's always, especially, very even lighting. There's a slight shadow on this child, but hey, we learned side lighting could and is kind of cute with kids. And maybe they knew that back then. But it's not as dramatic of side lighting, and just the quality of it. Like, this is Bibbins' original work. Totally different background, totally different lighting, and the fact that it's an oval, and all the pictures. Okay, this is an oval. Her daguerreotype was an oval. We think it was Lucian Foster's. And then these are ovals. So that appears to be what the matting was. So it maybe had oxidized beyond that point, or I just don't know. Or they saw that shape. But this is very likely also by Lucian Foster. So people have said that. I think this might be a little bit clearer. And none of them are very clear, but apparently that's in the Nauvoo Temple. So I'll just keep this video short, but if you do go here, I do give links to the church catalog. Okay. And to those specific pictures. I did have like the call number on there. Let me look at this again, because someone wanted to find it. So like there is a copy that's very, very cleaned up of this picture in the catalog. So date, there we go. See, this is very cleaned up, but then you don't see the whole daguerreotype, and they've like smoothed so many things out in Photoshop. So the reason I chose this is because you can see this line, and in hers, it's very, very hard to see, but you can see it does look really dark right there. It does seem to have a little bit of that line right there, and it'll be a lot darker. And it's just sort of got a little bit of a texture to that background, and there's a pleat you can see in his picture. So maybe it was a different time of day. I don't know what happened, why her lighting is way more dramatic than his, but they both have very dramatic side lighting. So this is a high resolution copy, but it's cleaned up tremendously. So the background, you can still see that line, but it looks different, and you don't see the whole daguerreotype. You don't even see the pleat, like it's cropped in. And so there's a link to that. And these are also in the catalog, but you can see there's a cleaned up version. Then there's this picture. I think he looks older. I think this is 1849. And then the guy told me that this is not the case that came in. So he sent me an email. So, but he doesn't own it anymore. He donated it to the church. And the church said I could use anything in the catalog as long as I showed a link to that. So that's why I got a link to the catalog. But it's pretty incredible. It's a very unique, the lighting matches with my picture. The background lights matches. It's an oval other than having the daguerreotype, but you know, everything I have found out. You know, here's artistic facial analysis. I call that because it's just me sketching. It's not, it was rejected by Tegan when I talked to her about it. I'll just say that. But I mean, she didn't, and then Machi was like, it's fine, but we just don't do that. So nowhere did I read or find that they do. So there's no sketching right here, but then I show the sketching and show the videos of me sketching. And last but not least, I mean, we've got to talk about another thing Trilogy Madsen explained. Like they talk about Joseph being stoop-shouldered, but he stated specifically that Joseph had tapered shoulders. See how this tapers down at an angle? His shoulders tapered down. So this is Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is him at 38. He was the same height and very obviously very muscular. He's known for being a muscular man. Look at those arms. But if you look at Joseph F. Smith at like age 80, his arms are about that ripped. They really are at age 80. So that family, those descendants, they really were into hard labor. So they weren't weaklings, but when you look at some of these other photos, you see someone was telling me that they thought the Spiritus picture looked too short to be Joseph Smith. Like he just didn't look very tall. He looked short. And if we look up, there's the Larson daguerreotype. I Google Brigham Young, and here's the Larson daguerreotype again. Cannot see his shoulders. There you go. It's not. His neck looks very short, and his shoulders look about as short as the Spiritus. His shoulders are at more of an angle like that than the Larson daguerreotype. His shoulders are going a little bit more that way. So he just looks smaller to me. He looks like a smaller man than the guy in my picture, compared to a man that is of height of 6'2" and very strong build and a very strong, that's a very buff. So when you got a trapezius muscle that's booming out, it sort of creates that tapering effect. Does that make sense? Strong trapezius muscle, not a short, whereas like a short man. So the Larson daguerreotype is kind of like that. So his shoulders are a lot higher, his neck is shorter. So someone was saying, just by looking at the shoulders, that they thought this person was shorter. I won't say who it was, because it's not an exact quote, and I'm not saying who it was, but it was just an off-the-cuff statement. from someone that has more education than me. That's all I'll say. And so I believe it's the shape of the shoulders. So I think it's too short. Anyway, but then it was just after I hadn't even said that about him. I guess I did last summer. And then someone in the comment section, sometimes they attack me personally, but they were like, your guy is not buff. Larson Daguerre way more buff. He could take him on. Just really, it was so emotional. I was like, oh, just sorry. I just think he looks shorter. He looks smaller. And I just really, really strongly believe that when we compare and superimpose my guy with Arnold Schwarzenegger, his trapezius muscle is as massive as Arnold's. Have a good day.